Milk Bottle Audio presents The Museum of Tat,
And Kitsch.
devised by Robert Crichton, with Michael Foles. Anyway, welcome back to the museum. Welcome back to the Museum of Tat.
And Kitsch.
I'm Professor Geoffrey Collins, curator of the Museum of Tat.
And Kitsch.
Yes, and this is Colin Jeffreys, former Professor of Tat at Sheffield University, currently unemployed.
Come on, just Colin, and you're still a professor.
I just am. And welcome to this final episode of the Museum of Tat.
And Kitsch.
Thank you. We've had to leave the old museum, take on all the services of the Kitsch Collective, take a massive pay cut. Basically, we've done everything the government asked us to do, and now they're shutting us anyway.
Well, that's not true.
No, they did say we could carry on as volunteers if we liked.
Yeah, we're not going to though, are we?
No.
Bit sad.
But if you think you can help us with our severance pay, then do donate now. We've
Bit sad.
paid for this episode thanks to our final sponsor.
He's a friend of mine.
So we're proud to announce that this episode of the Museum of Tat
And Kitsch.
is sponsored by Jacob's Reconstituted Meat Emporium, just down the parade opposite the betting shop.
Shops.
2-for-1 offer on all sausage meat,
Now with guaranteed horse anus.
if you're lucky. Also, to help raise funds to keep some of the collection together, we are selling off choice items featured in this series. Now, if you're interested in owning a piece of your very own tat, then go to the blog now and you can see how to bid for tonight's item, which is, well, they're big, they're round, they bounce on the ground. Tell them what they are.
Balls.
Yep.
Balls.
These are Collins balls.
Balls. But not just any old Collins balls.
No.
These are Christmas Collins balls.
Yeah, Christmas Collins balls. There are two balls in a sack there. Yeah, and they're rubber balls. They're big, spherical, slightly see-through.
That's important.
Yeah, see-through.
In a netted bag.
In a bag, in a plastic netted bag with plastic balls, slightly translucent, but also just a little bit off colour as well. They're sort of
Yellow.
a sort of yellowy, gungy sort of colour to them, and
Like the eyes of an old person.
yeah, or like a pair of balls in a sack. Very, very like that. And in fact, actually, they're slightly speckled as well. Have you noticed the
I
speckling?
did notice that. I think there's a theme there.
There's definitely they're speckled balls. Let me just measure these balls. Actually, if you could just gently cup them.
I will cup the
gently cup the balls.
Good weight.
There's a good yes, and they are even in size. They're about 2 inches across, and within each ball is a different figure.
Yes, they're very important.
So let's look at the left-hand ball as we're looking here, and it's red. It's Father Christmas. Oh, yes, it's Father Christmas in a little plastic ball surrounded by speckles. So,
which I believe signifies snow.
yes. I think that's
Like a snow globe, but
solid, not moving. And he's got a little green sack.
Oh, yes.
And there's actually quite a lot of detail going on there. I can see 2 eyes. I can see a nose.
Lipstick.
Lipstick, yes. Beard, fur trim, gloves. I mean, it's actually someone's spent a lot of... Well, I don't know if they spent much time creating Santa there, Father Christmas, before, presumably, encasing him in goo. Now, you've seen Jurassic Park, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you understand the principle that if you take a mosquito,
Yes.
and it sits on a tree,
Yes.
and the tree sap comes over it and encases it, and then it solidifies.
Yes.
Now this is basically what's happened to Santa Claus. He's been.
So he's a dinosaur.
We can genuinely not know how long he's been in there for.
Wow.
And in fact, if we could cut one of these balls open, you're wincing there. No, it's
yeah,
fine.
it's-
If you cut one of these balls open,
Ooh.
then hypothetically we could perhaps reproduce this Santa Claus.
We could ancient Santa Claus.
And
from
ancient Santa Claus.
millions
Or
of
more
years.
importantly, we could reproduce the presents in his sack.
Oh.
So, like the DNA strands within the blood sucked by the we could reconstruct what actually Santa's presents are.
Sack inside a ball.
A sack inside a ball. Inside a sack.
Inside a sack.
Now, the other ball...
now, you said figure earlier. Now, I don't think that is a figure.
It's not a figure, is it? No, it's
No.
not. It's a Christmas tree.
Christmas tree.
It's a Christmas tree with an enormous star on it.
That would cause a balance problem if it hadn't been...
It is huge. I mean, that
suspended
must be at least 1/4 of an inch across. So let's look at the bag now. Very simple, very cheap plastic bag with a sort of holding thing, so you can presumably hang it from a tree. There's a little loop at the top, and presumably you could hang that from a tree, from a Christmas tree. You could have a Christmas tree and a ball in a sack on a tree.
I mean, I assume it's just for hanging in the shop. I can't imagine why you'd have this on the tree or
that's true
in your house.
because
Oh, no, I've just seen
is there a maker's mark?
There's a maker's mark.
There is a maker's mark, and
on the ball?
it says China. It says China. So they're definitely being mass produced in some kind of free trade zone in China.
That Cathay, as it used to be.
Yes. Not suitable for children of 0 to 3 years.
They look very sad
Contains small parts.
Well, I mean, they're quite large.
They're quite large.
I mean, to swallow.
You'd have to work hard on that, actually. I would have thought you're more likely to choke on this when you're over 3 years old, because you'd have a large enough mouth to get it in.
Yes.
Whereas I would have thought you could probably suck on that until you're 3 years old, and you wouldn't stand a chance. So I think they're being a bit over. In fact, actually making it actively dangerous. It's in lots of languages here.
Oh, well, so they're being extra.
Keep this information for future reference.
What?
Well,
how far into the future do we have to keep it?
Well, it does have warning exclamation mark. Not suitable for children. Contains small parts. Keep this information for future reference. This label and nylon string must be removed before using the toy. And yes, the label is connected to the holder, to the sack, to the contents. Now, it's incredibly cheap. And yes, they're bouncy balls, and I suppose if I drop them on the ground, they will bounce. Let me just, I'm holding them about a metre above the ground.
Around about. Our rule is too small to measure the...
Yeah, and...
Oh.
Well, to be fair, there was a bit of, you may have heard that, bit of a bounce there.
I mean, maybe if they were out of the sack.
If they were out of the sack, I think they would perform better.
But that would depreciate their value if we...
Yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't want to depreciate their value. Now, they are stocking fillers.
Oh, yes.
They are cheap, massively produced. Yes, as bouncing balls for children, they're perfectly efficient and fine. But the reason why they're tat is not because of any intrinsic element. I mean, you may be sitting there at home tittering away at two men fiddling with some balls.
I know I am.
You know, here I am cupping two round, firm balls. Ooh. But they're not tat because they're inherently badly made. You know, there's not much you can do with rubber balls. You sort of mould the rubber into balls, and someone's spent a little bit of time. The point is not that these are intrinsically tat in themselves. It's the fact that there are potentially billions of other plastic balls just like this. There are billions of balls bouncing around everywhere. Billions of them. Think about that.
Scary thought.
And every year, more balls are being produced. More balls bouncing about in their sack. These balls in their sack will mostly end up on a rubbish tip and will be there for thousands of years.
They will outlive us.
They will outlive us. You know, when cockroaches run the world, they will be wandering around going, what are all these balls doing?
Yeah.
What are all these balls doing, bouncing around, getting in our way?
You can't even eat them.
No.
Cockroaches would try. They're quite
I think they'd
hardy.
have a go.
Yeah,
and yes, you could probably turn them into a road surface if you cut them up into little chunks or something like that. But they have very little utility. You know, many of these things, there isn't much of a game you can play with bouncing balls once you bounce them once or twice. Like the cup in the last episode.
Yes.
This isn't so much about the object itself. It's a good example. They're cheap. They're harmless. Tat.
Harmless unless you throw them really hard. It's an old woman or child or dog, bird,
yeah,
gazelle.
Yeah, you've got to stop doing that. It's what they represent, and the fact that there are just so many balls out there.
Some might say too many balls. Not me.
Too many balls.
Not me.
There are too many balls.
Well, I'm not saying it. Except I did.
You did.
But I'm not saying it now.
You're not saying it now. You're not saying... No, he's definitely backtracking on the balls there. So
So we'll have to disagree. You say there's too many balls,
There are definitely too many balls.
and I don't think there are. So
There are too many balls.
there are too many balls.
There are too many balls.
I've changed my opinion. There are too
There
many
are
balls.
too many balls.
Too many.
Too many balls. Too many big bouncing balls.
In sacks.
In sacks. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This is the end of the Museum of Tat. The skip is coming round tomorrow, and most of the collection is now going to be consigned to a landfill site somewhere near Sheffield. We're going to pay a visit every so often just to remember
Yes.
some of the good times we've had.
Raise a glass of tat.
Yeah,
And,
in our buffalo mug before we sell it.
buffalo.
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 Buffalo. So this is your last chance to own some officially accredited tat from the old school tat classification board.
So yes, if you'd like some balls,
If you'd like some balls, go on eBay. They will be up there very, very shortly. We'll keep you up to speed as to what price they receive. These again cost me 50p. They may have cost more originally. They may have cost slightly less. I don't know.
we'll even throw in the sack.
We'll even throw in the sack. Yeah, well, the sack is part of it, really.
It is,
because that's really inimical to animal life. So that's it for the Museum of Tat. I'm Professor Geoffrey Collins. I've been the curator of the Museum of Tat, and this has been
Colin Jeffries.
Colin Jeffries.
I've just realised balls is rude. Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it?
Buffalo balls.
Buffalo.
Balls. Buffalo balls.
Buffalo.
Balls. Buffalo balls.
Buffalo.
Balls. Buffalo balls.
Balls. Collins balls.
Yeah, Christmas Collins balls. 2 balls in a sack. Rubber balls, slightly translucent.
Bit sad.
Like a pair of balls in a sack. They're speckled balls. Let me just measure these balls. Gently cup the balls.
Good weight.
Ball, encasing him in goo.
Wow.
And in fact, if we could cut one of these balls, if you cut one of these balls open, balls, firm balls, balls, firm balls, balls, billions of balls bouncing around. Balls in their sack. Balls.
Too many balls.
There are too many balls.
Too many balls.
There are definitely too many balls. There are too many balls.
There are too many balls.
There are too many balls.
I've changed my opinion. There are too
There
many
are too many balls.
Too many.
Too many balls. Too many big bouncing balls.
In sacks.
In sacks.
In sacks.
In sacks.
If you'd like some balls,
If you'd like some balls,
in sacks.
in sacks.
Balls.
Balls.
I've just realised.